Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Ree and myself, Coach David Syvertson. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset. All right. Welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I am Coach David Syvertson. I don't have one, and I don't have two, and I don't have three. Sorry, I don't have one or two co-hosts. I got to work on that. I have three co-hosts today. Not people I'm interviewing. I don't even want to call them guests. They are all hosting this podcast with me today. I would actually put this up there, top 5, maybe even top 3 most important podcasts that we've ever done. I have our head coach, Liz Tanzola. I have a coach, owner, girl who worked out at Bison prior to Bison being ever open, DT in the dark in a room we weren't allowed to do in Ash. Worst display of DT we've ever both done or seen, Ashley. And I have one of my newer business partners, Coach Sam Ree. We are going to go over the first ever CrossFit Bison survey results. And Sam, I want you to touch on this, right? We brought this up at one of our meetings. We meet every month. And we said, we're constantly to nausea talking about, hey, what can we do better? What can we do to make the place better for everyone, for coaches, for members, for us, right? For new people, for older people. Why do you think, from an owner perspective, why is it important for us to send out a survey to our members and give them an opportunity to tell us what they want more of out of the gym?
We have our own ideas of what we think, how the gym is doing, how we need improvements on certain things or not, but we don't really know what the gym thinks. People come up and talk all the time, but obviously not everyone feels the need to say something. So when you brought up the idea of a survey, it was the most obvious, best idea to really solicit the feedback of everyone at the gym without fear of repercussion or being singled out, and to really let us know how we can make the gym better.
And now, Ashley, you work in HR. You solve problems for a living, and I've had a front row seat at watching you grow your career. I drove you out to your interview at Vornado back when we were dating in Hoboken. That's how far back I've watched you grow in that career. Yeah. And your perspective on just managing and solving problems and trying to blend feelings with reality, because at the end of the day, that's what we have to do with these survey results. We have to take people's feelings and thoughts and actually filter them into what's realistic and what's not. When you saw some of these results, and we've had a lot of conversations about them, where does your head go just from a professional standpoint, but also someone that was at Bison before Bison was a thing?
Well, first, from like an HR perspective, right? Like, a lot of companies don't love to do surveys because you get an answer and you're expected to do something with that, right? Like, you can't just send out a survey and nothing changes. So a lot of companies, yes, want to know, where their pitfalls are, what they're doing great, but that also comes with immense responsibility to actually make changes. So I think the interesting part for us in the small business, right, is that we want to know, like Sam said, we want to know what people are loving, what things can be changed, because we only know what we know. So from our end, from like an HR, perspective and seeing the business grow from day one, it's enlightening to see a lot of things. There are things that we can change and we will make changes to, and we will improve on. But there are things from a logistics standpoint, from a business standpoint, that unfortunately just can't be changed. So it's kind of like, you want to please the people, you want to please the members, because they are how we make business, how we run a business is by them. But at the same time, it is a business and we do have to treat it as such. So it's a very fine line between, answering to ownership and answering to membership.
Yeah. Tough. And there's no formula out there. And I've never even wanted to compare Bison to a corporate business or Fortune 500. And that actually, a lot of advice we've gotten from people that work in different realms and different businesses, a lot of their rules, lessons, advice. It just doesn't even apply to something like this. So we do get to beat to our own drum, but there are things we can take from corporate HR and your own entrepreneur mindset and try to, again, blend them together, filter them. Now, Liz, what is the primary goal from your perspective of Bison is what? Like the goal of the staff is what? You are in charge of the staff. They are the most important people in our gym, not the best people, but the most important ones. And when you kind of take our thoughts from ownership and you convey them to the coaches, but you also take your own views of this place, someone that has been around since the beginning as well, what is the primary goal of this place, and how can a survey from members and all of their thoughts and opinions, how can it help us get us there?
I think it's to create a gym that everybody loves coming to. And we talked about this in our staff meeting that we had recently, just a 10 out of 10 experience, 5 stars, no matter who's coaching. I think it's also really important to remember that we have a large staff. And I think we kind of pride ourselves in having different and unique coaches, and not everybody teaches the same. Not everybody has the same scaling options. Not everybody helps the same. Not everybody offers the same kind of help in their own way, you know? And I think it's really important to know that we're not all going to be exactly the same. There's going to be slight differences. For our team, I just want a team that wants to be involved in what we do here. Like, they love it, they breathe it, they preach it. So I guess that would be my goal.
No, that's a big part. And we are going to get, don't worry, everyone, we're still kind of introing what everything's this entire episode, because we're going to get specific. We're going to get nitty. We're going to get gritty. We're going to get our hands dirty a little bit with everything. I do want everyone to know that every single word from every single response was read multiple times. It wasn't one time through. It wasn't a breeze through. I personally read through everything twice, and I got something different out of it the second time I went through. And I know, Sam, you read through everything. Liz, I send you every single coaching feedback one. Like these are taken very serious. And as we dive into some of the results, some of the takeaways, right? The trends, that's really what we were looking for, what I was personally looking for. I'm going to create 2 rules for the 4 of us as we talk about this, but I'm also going to create 2 rules for those that are listening, that are members of the gym, that contributed to the podcast, that have their own opinions. For us, we cannot take things personal, and we're not allowed to get defensive. And I only bring that up because every time I went into my laptop and I updated the next 10, I usually did 10 to 15 at a time. I made sure that was what I was looking at it from that lens. Don't take it personal, and I'm not going to get defensive. Truth. Yes. A lot of people don't know the truth about every little detail of the place. They shouldn't. They don't need to. They come 1 hour a day. We have 70 class. We're open 80 hours a week. Right. But what they think is really important to me and everyone that's on this episode. So I got away from that person's wrong. They don't know what they're talking about and I brought it to, this is what someone thinks about the schedule, the facility, the programming, the coaching. And I just left it at that. And it really helped me get through it. So no defensive and don't get personal. If you're listening and you contributed to the podcast, you have 2 rules as well. You have to understand this. It has never been, it currently is not, it will never be our job to make everyone happy. It's not even in the scope. I'm not going to say we don't care about making people happy. We do. That's a big reason why we started the place. But to try to find example, let's keep it juvenile for now. If we said we have to make everyone happy with the playlist and the music at the gym, what do you think would happen? I mean, you literally want people that want death metal, gangster rap, and fish in the same class, right? I mean, it's kind of a pointless endeavor to try and make everyone happy. So let's understand it's not our job, and it never will be our job to do that. Part 2, if you can remember back to 5th and 6th grade science class, you learn that for every reaction, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So everything that we implement that comes from an idea from a member, it probably has a reaction in the opposite direction. Again, let's come up with we'll touch on the facility, but the 2 most frequent brought up comments about the facility. One was you need showers. That was the most common thing that came up to us from membership, even from people that said, I would never use it, but you guys should have showers. The second most frequently brought up issue with our facility is the parking. And So let's say we said, hey, we're going to add showers. We're going to add 4 showers. And you guys, all you morning people can take your quick shower. You get on the train, get on the bus. You don't have to go home. Very efficient schedule-wise. You want to know what would happen if we did that? Equal opposite reaction. You'd have more people coming to the morning, biggest class at the gym already, and you'd have even less people leaving after class, which makes the parking even worse. And I think that's a really good, easy to understand example that if we add showers because people want it, the parking issues are probably going to be twice as bad in the morning, and your classes are going to be even more full than they already are. So that's where, when we take in thoughts from members, I promise you they are stored away, even if we don't react to them right away. Meaning, if we go get a different facility, a different building 2 years from now, 5 years from now, that might be something we do right away. Be like, hey, if we have enough space, let's put in showers. But I can tell you this right now, at our current location, it's never going to happen. We will never put showers in at 265 Greenwood for a lot of different reasons. But it is something that we did take in, but let's understand there's going to be a reaction to it. Now, we're going to dive right into the nitty gritty here. And we're going to start off with, I think, is probably the most important one. And this is where we're going to have Liz kind of take over a little bit. Because she has a lot of good thoughts on it. She puts a lot of thought into it herself, both with her own coaching and training our coaches. And it has to do with the coaching feedback. And it was probably a tie between this and culture of what got the longest winded responses. Like, people really dug in, like paragraphs, some of them, of comments on it. And we're going to spend most of the time talking about what we could do better. That was really the purpose. We didn't need pats on the back, and you guys are great. I mean, we love hearing that. Who doesn't? But really, it was, what can we do to make this place better? So I'm going to have Liz touch on something. The most common feedback we got about our coaching was that members want more unsolicited feedback. Meaning they want coaches to take the initiative more than they currently are. And we've talked to the coaches about this. We're not throwing them under the bus. That I want more feedback, whether it's positive or negative. I want more help on form. And Liz, you've been coaching for so long. You probably have coached close to 10,000 classes at this point. You've had good classes and bad classes. You've grown a lot as a coach. I love taking your classes. What's something that you want a coach? What can a coach do to ensure they get to everyone in their class at some point?
I think it's important that they move around the room. I know we talked about that in our staff meeting, but you can't really give feedback on something you can't see. So you have to make sure you're seeing everyone, pursuing helping people, like actively looking for ways to make them better. I like to simplify it with the saying that if you see something, say something. And it could be as little as, their heels are coming off the ground. It could be as big as, they're not getting under a bar correctly, or it's not safe. But any little thing you can find is going to make somebody better.
Yeah, that's absolutely the see something, say something does apply. And I think if every coach simplifies it, you can do that. And I do think I empathize with a coach that is in the morning, right? You've done a lot of mornings, you've done Saturdays. You have a class of 30 people. Sometimes when we're really in the middle of the year, it's like a routine basis. You'll have 20 to 30 people in class. And when you're in there and you're saying like, hey, I got to try to get to everyone. Some people really want that attention, whether it's a pat on the back or a cue for their squat snatch. Can you look at, just express from the coaching perspective, like how challenging that is? It's not necessarily someone choosing not to give feedback, but sometimes their head is all over the place. I mean, what is it like to be coaching at a gym that's got 20, 30 people?
Yeah. I would say, well, let me open first by just saying, and I want to point out credit to you and Liz, that out of the responses, almost 85% of the people gave the coaching helpful scaling modifications a 5. So that was really gratifying to see that people felt that they were getting many people felt they were getting the right scaling options and modifications. The morning is something that is uniquely challenging for the coaches, because as you mentioned, there are easily 25 people in there, and there have been some comments, and I fully understand it, because I am a regular morning athlete now as well, that it's really hard to give individual attention when the classes are that big. There are logistic issues. You're trying to get people in and out. You're trying to assign lanes. You're trying to make sure that the flow of the class is on time. And so to be able to also give great feedback, not just requested feedback, but unsolicited feedback, as the survey has mentioned, is a supersized challenge. Now, that's not saying it can't be done.
Right.
Like it can and should and will be done based on what we got. And I definitely appreciate the fact that people said this is something that needs attention.
Yeah.
And as Liz said, she's talked to the coaches about how we could do better in terms of doing that. So I have a couple thoughts about it on a personal level. Like you said, I don't want to get all defensive, because I have been that coach and being like, well, what do you expect? I mean, I can't, like, people are just a mess. Like, nobody's listening. Nobody's doing jack in the class. They're all talking to each other. They're not even listening to you. So why would they want feedback from you if they're not even listening to you when you are trying to give instructions? So, but instead of being all argumentative and pushing back, like you said, I really took all of these comments to heart. And I will say, first of all, let me put a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit on the athletes. If you really care about your movements and how you're doing, I would like to see you video yourself. Like all the athletes I know who are really good at, or not good, but diligent about self-improvement, are videoing themselves. And if I see that, I feel more comfortable as a coach going to them and saying, you're really trying to work on your technique, and let me also help you on your technique. There are also a number of athletes, and I would say they are the silent, I want to say majority, but big part of them don't want feedback, and they don't want unsolicited feedback. They have been coming to the gym for 10 years. And if you told them to squat lower on the wall balls, they would give you not one middle finger, but two middle fingers. And I've been on that other end. Okay. Yes. So the second thing is if you are somebody who says this, don't be pissed off if somebody says, hey, you're not squatting deep enough, because I have literally seen coaches say that, and someone says, no, I'm squatting deep enough. Well, okay, so what is a coach supposed to do? And right. I have been that athlete too. I said that in the coaches meeting. I said, Dan Coda came to me on my toes to bar and said, you need to use your lats more. And I said, Dan, my shoulder is hurting. I am specific. Like, I'm not using my lats because of that. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. So which way is it supposed to be for coaches? That being said, I do agree. We could, and I think you and Dave, and I don't know if you're going to talk about this, talked about how it's more about individual attention. And I think that's key, individual attention.
Yeah. I mean, and this is, again, I should maybe have done a better job at the opening of the episode. Like, this is what I want the conversation to be, because I think, if you really do care about the place from an athlete perspective, member perspective, or owner coach perspective, whatever, I mean, we're all the same in regards to this conversation. You have to listen. Like, we gave everyone the opportunity in the survey to talk. Now you have to listen. We just listened to 100, I think it was 112 responses, and some of them were very long. I didn't talk during them. I just listened. Now it's, if you filled these out and you want, some feedback on what you offered to us, you're going to have to listen. And that's a big part of coaching that many people, a comment got brought up that it said, how could you let someone during open gym lift with really bad form and not say anything about it? Okay. What that athlete probably does not know is that we have probably given that athlete cues dozens of times. And we're adults. These aren't 9-year-olds where it's like they don't have the brain capacity yet to really take in information. You're an adult at Bison. If you've been given the same cue 14 times and you're still chicken winging every single time you do a muscle up, that's on you. And we're allowed to say that. We're not going to come grab someone by the waist and say, you're not allowed to jump back up on the rig until you stop chicken winging. And that is where the perspective of someone offering feedback about what we're doing as coaches, it means something, but it never means everything. But we are more than willing to take it in and look inward and say, all right, did we really help that person enough that's been chicken winging for 4 years? Have you really ever taken that person aside and said, you're gonna hurt your shoulder at some point? Ash, you've seen, this is a comment that if you get offended easily, this is gonna sting. We got a comment that said our coaching was way better in the past. And that is something that I don't agree with, but it's okay, because it doesn't matter if I agree with it or not. It's literally just what someone thinks. I think our coaching is elite at Bison, and I will go to that with my grave. But was it easier to coach 8 years ago than it is now? And I want to tell me why or why not.
Yeah, I think it was. First, I think we had smaller classes, right? We didn't have classes of 30 like we have in the mornings. So you kind of got that personal, like one-on-one a little bit. I still remember when we had an 8:15 class, and sometimes me and Frank Nugent hanging out, doing the workout. A lot easier to coach and get to everyone and give them specific cues when it's a smaller class. Two, kind of like you said, like with Sam, like having a shoulder injury. When you have a smaller group, right, and the gym itself as a whole is smaller, you know those small things that are going on in people's lives a little bit more. So you could be like, oh yeah, I remember last week Sam had talked to me about this, and I know he's going through a shoulder thing, so maybe I wouldn't say that to him today. But when you've got 300 members at a gym, and you're learning all of this, and coaches are seeing so many people every day, it does get a little bit more difficult. But I think we've talked to Liz did a great job at our coaches meeting, speaking to our coaches about listening to the coaches or to the athletes, and really making sure that we can try to see all of those things, hear all of those things from athletes. And also, I think what people want more is not the overall, like, good job, guys, like, keep going, like this. They want, like, hey, Liz, great lockout. Hey, Sam, like, great kip there. Like, Dave, like, a little bit lower on that squat, but you're doing good. You know what I mean? Like, specific to that person instead of the overall, great job to everybody. But yeah, a lot has changed, in the gym since we've been open. And I think we're doing a great job. I think the other hard part too is we usually promote from within, right? So we have athletes who have been with us for a really long time and are still trying to find that line between, I used to be just an athlete here, to now I'm an athlete and I'm a coach. So I'm now coaching these people that I have been working out with for a really long time. And some of them have been doing CrossFit a lot longer than me, right? A lot of our coaching in the very beginning, we were coaching people who had just started CrossFit. So we were kind of like the mecca of, coaches, because they didn't know any better. Now you've got people who are coaching who have been doing CrossFit, maybe even a little bit less than some of the athletes that they're coaching. So it is kind of like that learning curve. But I think our coaches do an awesome job. I think they spend a lot of time, coming up with new things, new ways to interact with everyone, new ways to stretch and do workouts. But again, a lot has changed, and people need to realize that.
Yeah. I want to piggyback on what Ash said, because a lot of it is about attention. And I know Liz has really emphasized paying attention, because no one, based on the survey, is happy. This is a quote from one of the two responses. One was, there's a notable imbalance in attention. It seems like the majority of coaching and feedback is directed toward the athletes who compete. And then there's another response that says, I think the coaches focus a lot on the more casual or more inexperienced gym goers. I haven't seen a lot of coaching. So I think the message is not, you guys are all wrong. It's people all want attention regardless. And as coaches, if people don't feel like they're receiving that attention, then we can and should do a better job looking at every individual, whether it's 5 or 25, that we can do a better job with that.
Yeah, I agree. Liz, before I get to the next one, I actually want to ask you this, because as Ash was talking about this came to my mind in regard to coaching, what it used to be and what it is now. I would take our coaching now over what it was 8 years ago without hesitation. The biggest difference to me is not the quality of coaching now versus 8 years ago. The bigger difference is that you now have dozens, maybe even hundreds of members that have been CrossFitting for over 5 years. A lot of them over 10 years. And with that, they know a lot about CrossFit. They're no longer being taught basics on how air squats and thrusters. They're kind of like leveling up in terms of what they understand. They know a lot themselves. Some of these guys used to coach. We have members in our gym that coach for years. They know a lot about CrossFit. And when you are coaching someone that knows a lot, maybe even as much as you, that can be tough to really confidently coach that person. And we have some newer coaches on our staff that only have maybe 100 to 200 classes under their belt. And it takes time for a coach to develop that confidence that no matter what, if Rich Froning comes to my gym, I can coach him. I can give him something. But that doesn't happen by the snap of a finger. You've been coaching for a long time. There aren't many people in the gym that have been CrossFitting more than you, but there are people you coach that know a lot about CrossFit. Do you struggle with that at this point still as a coach, that like, hey, can I really coach this person?
I think I view it like I'm their eyes. Like when you're working out, like Sam said, having a camera on you and then you go back and watch it. If every single person did that, there would be a couple people that are very surprised that they don't have a squat or their push-ups aren't, real or, their snatches are a little or, they would be surprised how they move, because when you get tired, movement changes. So it doesn't matter who you are. I think the way you start a workout is definitely not the way you end a workout for anybody. And I think we just need to be humble about that. And even sit-ups get sloppy, right? They start really good. We're sitting nice and tall. And it's like then the person next to you, you're racing them. And then all of a sudden the movement changes. And I think that's where a coach can, or at least where I view it as, I could jump in and say, clean it up, move clean, or just give reminders, or heels down. You're struggling with the weight. You're tired. Your arms are tired. Your legs are tired. You just did an 800-meter run. Now you're squat cleaning. Things start to fall apart. Yeah. So as a coach, you just view it as, you are looking for the things that they should be doing. Yeah. And while they're focused on the workout, you can be the reminder. So I think that helps you coach, an athlete that's been here for 2 days, an athlete that's been here for 6 years, an athlete that knows a lot or doesn't.
Yeah, that's good. I like that way. You're the eyes of the athlete. That's cool. Now, this came up, I think I have 6 times this came up, that the coaching is inconsistent at Bison. And again, that's going to happen with the levels of experience that we have. You'd have inconsistency in any walk of life, any sports team, any business, for people that have been there for 10 years versus 2 years, it's different. And we don't make coaches follow a certain warm-up. Yes, I do think some coaches put a lot more thought into their warm-ups than others. I don't want to use the term better, though. I really don't. I just think some put more time into it than others. I would agree with that comment, which we have heard. But I think you like this as well, Liz, that coaches have their own kind of personality, their ability to put their personality into that class. Some of it is music. Some of it is how they approach the whiteboard talk. I mean, Keith's Keys, Dan Coda, how that, like their personality shows up at the whiteboard, and we want that. Imagine we said, you have to talk about the workout like this, and then you have to do this, and you have to comb your hair to the side like this, and you have to tuck in your shirt like this. Some people would love that structure, corporate. We're not corporate. We have zero desire to be corporate. So how do you, from the head coach perspective, how do we preserve like these individual personalities and these coaching styles, but also keeping the expectation that you have of coaches to be consistent with the actual coaching part of it and being reliable to members? Because our coaching schedule is spread out all over the place. If you come in the morning, you have a different morning coach every day. If you come at night, you have a different night coach every single day. And I like that. I think that's the best way to do it. However, there needs to be some sort of reliability from the member's perspective. Can you touch on that?
So there is a standard that I think we all expect. Like I do expect coaches to talk about scaling at the whiteboard. They could also do it in the warm up. They could also do it individually. So I think it's important to remember that they all have their different unique ways and they can kind of lean into that. But I think there is a standard that it needs to be said or talked about. Now, how they go about it, I think is up to them. So that keeps it like, they have to talk about it at some point. They know their direction, but it also frees them up to be themselves and do it how they would like to. So I think they're across the board, that's there. Like we do expect them to be warmed up. Yes. We do expect the workouts to start on time and end 10 minutes before. Like we have an expectation. I think we let them kind of decide, hey, today's like a mobility day with what they're doing, or today is like they need to breathe a little heavier, or they need an aggressive warm up, or I think we kind of let them be individual there.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay.
Yep.
Some people like to stretch more than others.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think we got this comment that there are certain coaches that their automatic go-to is go run 400 meters. Another coach is like, that's their warm up, right? I don't think it's a bad thing, but if it's your go-to, I think that's a bad thing. If that's the automatic, hey, I'm just going to do that every time, bad thing. The occasional, that's what you're going to do first, absolutely. And usually the people that don't like that, it hurts when they run initially. Like they need 10 minutes. But I also want to question your functional fitness. If you need a 10-minute warm-up to go jog 400 meters, that's a problem. And I'll raise my hand. I hate when a coach does air squats right away because I'm like, I just want to stretch out my quads. I'm tight. I'm bad at maintaining that. That's why I don't like it. But air squats are a great freaking warm-up. I just don't like it. Running is a great way to warm yourself up. And if you have an issue with it right away, go scale it or fix the problem that creates that. Again, take some ownership of that. If you're functionally fit, you should be able to go run, right? Everyone should get out of their chair and go run 400 meters right now without a warm-up. If you can't, you have a problem. And I think that's a part of this whole warm-up talk. Sam, we've done an episode on the perfect warm-up, which doesn't exist, all right? But we do have some parameters for that. You're older than us, and
Thanks.
But you are someone that you have specific things you like to do warm up. You had very specific ways of warming up people. I liked some of them. I didn't like some of them. But again, it doesn't matter what I like. You're doing it for the gym, what you think is best. What is your approach to a coach's approach and their personality in a warm up? Like, where should you go from an owner perspective in terms of sharing an opinion on what you think a coach's warm up should be?
You are 100% right. There's such a variety in terms of the coaches and their styles. And I know some people take to it and some people don't. Like you said, I have my own preferences. I think what Liz said and what you said hit the nail on the head. The first thing is, are they doing all the logistics and the flow that is at minimum necessary to coach? And I would say every single one of our coaches generally does that. The second part is coaching is two parts. It's talent and it's preparation. So we all have different levels of talent. For example, Keith, as he's been going, he's a better coach than I was. And he's only coached maybe like half as long or a third as long as I have. And he has a lot of talent for it. Like, there's no doubt. Like, it's just like anything else. Like, he lends himself to it very well. But at minimum, even if I don't have the talent, I need to put the preparation in. I need to think about the class. I need to think about the stimulus. I need to think about the programming. I need to think about what I'm doing. And I would at least try to put the preparation in. And I think the emphasis is if coaches are not putting in that preparation, and I know Liz, I've talked to Liz, the way she preps is like so thorough. And so all of those things have to come into play. What I think the survey points out to me is if we have coaches that are not prepping appropriately, regardless of the talent, like I said, it took me a while to warm up to Bobby. Love Bobby. You know, he's a superstar. Dan has found his voice and I love taking his classes. So, but regardless of whether I like that warm up or not. I'm an old guy. I don't run well. I don't do a lot of different things well. I kind of sandbag some of the warm ups, not going to lie, until the workout happens. But if I know a coach has really thought about that warm up and has really worked on it, then I trust and respect what he or she is doing for that class. And to me, the survey is pretty unrelenting. Like, make sure our coaches are prepped and they've put time into the class.
Yeah. So the last thing I'll do in regard to coaching, is I just want to, again, I want every member to know that they were heard, they were seen. I think that's, we talked about this earlier. Everyone wants attention. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a knock. We want everyone to know that their comments were heard and seen. And I'm just going to run through some of the positives real quick. And, if I'm just going to go one by one, if you guys have anything to add to, I'm just going to list them just so we don't take too much time here. And if there's anything that you really want to add on top of that, and then I'll go through some of the negative comments, not negative, just like, hey, what could we do better? And then I'll give you guys the opportunity there too. So as Sam said earlier, the overwhelming majority they were very happy with our coaching, like literally over 90%. And even the people that were very happy, they like to give a little like, hey, I'd like a little bit more mobility post-workout, or hey, I would like a little bit more guidance from a coach after a class. What can I do on my own to get better at toes to bar? So those aren't negative comments. It's just, what could we get more out of? So some of the positive stuff here was that every coach seems overly thoughtful in their approach. They always love to help others modify. Every coach is helpful and mindful when it comes to scaling and injury needs, which is a big deal to us. We know that at some point people are going to get nicked up here and there, and it's really important that people do that. The coach goes through everything at the whiteboard in a really time and efficient manner. It's the most professional coaching staff I've ever seen, and I've been a member of 4 different gyms. They're always on time, which is a big deal for people who are out on a tight schedule. Coaches are always monitoring. This came from someone where the coach used to leave the room after they warmed up, like once the workout started. I can feel Ashley's head nodding right now. All coaches give great suggestions on our weights, and it's really hard to do that. And they appreciate that a coach can give good guidance on what weight to use in workouts. They call out bad form almost immediately. And let's see, the last couple here, they love the detail that's the top, to help people understand so they don't have to ask questions at the whiteboard. That was in regard to the whiteboard. They go through it and there's no questions after. And the warm-ups are excellent, which is ironic. All right. And it's good to see. It's good for everyone to hear that, there's 2 sides to every coin here. You hate the warm-ups. They think they need to be better. Other people think that they're excellent. I'm big on your warm-up. You'll get out what you put into your warm-up. Now, anything in there that kind of caught your attention that just makes you smile inside? It's like, hey, that's what we're trying to do. I'm happy about this. Like, or those kind of things that you kind of already know when you want to move on to the next.
I love the comment about the whiteboard. I think they do a really good job. And I think because they take the extra minute or two to really explain scales and give you options of what to do for the day, I think it really helps new people to even, a couple of years in, try to find something different, a different kind of scale to add to their workout. So that's one of my favorite comments was about that.
Yeah. I mean, and Ashley, and in regard to that, Ashley, we laughed about this somewhat recently, that in every workout that's on our app, there's something right at the top. It says notes under the workout, under the date. And in the notes, there's literally an explanation about the stimulus of the workout, the goals of the workout. And I guess I have done a bad job letting everyone know that in every single Bison workout, you can read about that workout and give you guidance prior to showing up. And a few people on our staff just found that out.
Oh, no.
So Ash, touch on that or anything else that kind of caught your attention in the positive remarks.
I just found that out. Sorry, everyone. It's very helpful, right? Because a lot of times, when you coach, you have athletes that come up to you and they're like, I don't understand what's the stimulus of this and what's that. And like, well, yes, I may have my idea. Like we all know, people laugh and ask, does Dave sit in like a cave and like come up with these like workouts and like ha ha ha. And I was like, there's a method to the madness, right? So I think those notes, now that I know that they're there, are great to use. But I really do think that we've done a great job, and Liz has done a great job at choosing our athletes. And I think one of the things that they said in the survey is that like you can tell that our coaches care. That they want to be there, that they want to coach, and they want to be helpful. At the end of the day, like that's what, we're there to keep you guys safe, keep you guys healthy, and that we care. And that's been a huge thing. And it's nice to hear that feedback, that people have such positive things to say about our coaching. Cause at the end of the day,
that's what
the
it is.
athletes and the coaches. Yeah.
Yeah. And Sam, anything from that positive side that really kind of makes you smile, nod your head?
No, I'm so glad that Ash could finally find out what your program that you spent so much time writing.
Seriously. All right. So for the what can we do better stuff, I'm just going to list through things that came up more than once, or a couple of comments that really stood out. We talked about the feedback. They talked about the class sizes. Coaches spending too much time on newbies and not enough on seasoned veterans. Spending too much time with one individual in a class. Tell us what we can do on our own and give us more guidance on what I can do to level up. And that can be with anything, lifting, cardio, gymnastics, especially the skill stuff. Coaches take too long to write the names on the zone board and then also on the whiteboard, which can't argue against that. Someone could touch on that if you want. When I have to scale the workouts, it seems like I don't get enough attention. Like, people that are, if I have a shoulder problem and we're snatching, they do cleans instead. Coach kind of ignores them and giving the cues in regard to that. Only the top athletes are getting the attention from the coaches. Only the new athletes are getting attention from the coaches. I guess it's all about perspective. We brought up the feedback. I want to be coached harder. I don't want a bunch of compliments. I want to be told what I'm doing wrong every day. Let's see. Warm-ups lack consistency. We're there. More post-workout stretching and recovery suggestions. Teach us post-workout and suggest what we can do on our own. And more skill work can be implemented into a warm-up. So not necessarily part 1, part 2, but maybe help us develop skills, which can also warm us up for whatever we're doing. And this one got my attention because this came up multiple times. Warm-ups have become way too talkative and less about warming up. And that was geared at members, meaning it's not, people are not locked in 10, 15 minutes leading up to the workout. They're too busy chatting with each other and it throws off the quality of the warm-up. So, I can touch on a couple of those, but Liz, do you have anything there that kind of, not stings you in your heart? Again, because this is not a negative thing. It's like, hey, yeah, right. We'll take some constructive feedback.
I do agree with the not being dialed in for warm-ups. And like, yes, there's, like you said, another side of everything that you have to look at. People come in late. They have, the kids screaming in the car. They're giving them an extra 5 minutes before they walk in. There's a lot going on. But I do feel like sometimes, you start warming up and you'll see somebody disappear. They don't feel like warming up today. They don't feel like stretching. They don't feel, they'll go to the bathroom, they'll go to the car to get something. So they don't give it 100% when they're warming up. And I think that's something that could change on the other end of things too, just taking the warm up more seriously. Their workouts would be better. But I do see that. I do notice that. I'm not sure how to 100% control that necessarily. Sometimes I think it's hard to be like, everybody be quiet. Everyone has to listen. Everyone has to warm up. I do like that people talk to each other. We did talk about that with zoning boards, making different kind of conversation and stuff. But I do agree with that. I'm not exactly sure the answer of what to do about it, but
yeah.
Yes.
Good. Sam, anything in there that kind of gets your attention more than others?
No, I feel like when you were listing them all off, you and Liz discussed many of them and actually addressed a lot of it in our coaches meetings. And I feel like if athletes who heard those comments feel like they ring true, trust me, many of those were addressed very specifically with the coaches. And I think you'll see some improvements in that regard.
Yeah. And Ashley, anything?
I just think like kind of what you said, it's all perspective, right? Like you've got one side where you've got people are saying like only the newer athletes get attention. And then you've got the other side where you say only the good athletes are getting attention. So it's, all within perspective of who's in the class, who's coaching, and personally how you feel. I don't think that there's a bias by any means. From any of our coaches. Like I said, they want to make everybody better, but it is something to be mindful of at the end of the day.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're 45 minutes in and we've just done one part of it. This will be our longest podcast ever. And I think I am going to try to I've never done this before. I'm going to try to make the chapters or the timestamps in YouTube and Spotify for those that want to just kind of listen to sections, because now we're going to move on to an entirely new section of this. And I want to get like the serious stuff done first, and then we can throw in some of the not so serious schedule facility in at the end, because I am going to try to keep this under 2 hours. So I am going to move on to programming, and I actually can probably start talking more about the programming in future podcasts and not spend too much time on it. But it is something that's very interesting, that at the end of the day, guys, that's why you come to I know a lot of you come for community and friends, but you come to work out, and then your friends are there and your relationships blossom from there. But to me, the programming is a vital component to the gym. And I have been programming since the beginning. And right now, to be blunt with you, I don't have any intention of giving that up unless there's a revolt in our ownership and coaching staff and they don't want me to do it anymore. And then but I would listen to it. With that said, I hear it all with programming. I genuinely do. And I love to talk about it, to the point where I would annoy you how much I like to talk about it if we got to a one-on-one conversation. And I would say this, in regard to our programming, my goal is actually pretty simple. Could talk a long time about it, but the goal is this. I want to make you as fit as possible, as efficiently as possible, as safe as possible. Meaning, I'm not here to just help you check a box that you worked out. I want to make you fitter than you are now, or get you closer to what your goal is with via programming. Coaching's a part of it, your intentions, your lifestyle outside the gym. But when it comes to programming, that's the goal. Now, efficiently as possible, meaning we really only have about 50 minutes of class time to get there. 4 to 5 days per week. Some of you guys are 6, but generally the high volume people, it's 4 or 5 days a week. Most people, it's 3 or 4 days per week. Okay. So again, you're really talking about 3 to 4 hours per week that we have to get you there to that goal, and as safely as possible. There's a lot of things we could program, loads and gymnastics and movements, that they wouldn't be the safest. You have to blend all that together and create a program that's not just for you, it's for the whole gym. And before I get into some of the more specific stuff, I'm going to run through what I got from members in terms of what they want more in programming, and just try to look at it from a lens other than your own. Here we go. Ready? More snatch, longer workouts, more clean and jerk, less gymnastics, more deadlift, more mobility, more part 1, more part 2, more cleans, more mandated squat cleans and squat snatches, less squat snatches and squat cleans, bench press, bodybuilding, more curls, literally got that, more core work, more finishers, more ring muscle ups, more odd objects, rope climbs, kettlebell work, gymnastics accessory, strength days, especially overhead, more gymnastics again, single leg lifts, more squatting, more pistols, thrusters, ring dips, kipping handstand push-ups, strict handstand push-ups, handstand walks, overhead squats, no long workouts, jump rope. Okay. So when you you get all of that and you say like, okay, there's about 40 things we got to add to the programming. Okay. I think that means it's a balanced program. And I think that's for a gym program, that's the goal. It's not more lifting. It's not more gymnastics. It's not more running. Can it be balanced? And if there's one thing I would very confidently say is CrossFit, our programming is balanced. We don't do everything as often as everything else, like meaning we don't squat snatch a lot for a few different reasons. We don't handstand push up a lot. We don't ring muscle up a lot. But in terms of it being a strength and conditioning program, I think it's for everyone. I'm going to bring up a couple graphs, and I'm going to get some of you guys to start touching in on some of the programming, because I don't want this to just be me. So Sam, as I showed this graph to those that are going to watch on YouTube, we asked how important different aspects of programming are to your specific training. Strength was the number one thing the gym wants. All right, just going to toggle this down. Okay, so right there, you could see strength and conditioning right there. Strength was more than conditioning. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And for those that are not watching, gymnastics, to my surprise, was not desired as nearly as much as strength and conditioning. It wasn't even close. I would say it was half of the people that filled out their survey want gymnastics. And there are some comments I'm going to share later on. But Sam, touch on why you think the overwhelming majority of our gym really comes into, they do CrossFit, they do Bison because they want to get stronger. That's what they want to do. Why do you think that is?
It didn't surprise. I mean, I was surprised when I saw these survey results, and then it made sense to me for a couple things. One, as we get older, unless you have a specific gymnastics background in some way, learning gymnastics is really hard. Like, I think most people struggle when they first start CrossFit, especially as an older age. If you've never done anything on the rig, upside down, walking, these are really difficult skill sets. And that's just the bottom line. They are. And progression on that is much harder than, say, increasing your front squat or back squat numbers with a squat program. Let's just face it. Number two, people value strength. That's why people go to the gym in general. I think the culture and physiology literature out there is emphasizing that as we get older, we need to maintain muscle. We need to build muscle. Things have changed over time in terms of that thought. And so I think people are now sort of understanding that strength, especially as we get older, muscle building is a priority. And that is reflected in the survey results. The third thing is, and this sort of reflects me as an average CrossFitter. Most CrossFit athletes go to CrossFit because it's fairly intense, right? We like, and I am no different, finishing a workout in a heap, lying on the ground, sore, feeling like I really just pushed myself and got a really good workout. And the second thing is that I did well in that workout. Like I thought I really maximized my potential. And if you're not a gymnastics person, and you have to do ring muscle ups or bar muscle ups or upside down, handstand push-ups or walks, and you had to scale it to bear crawls, like that's not a very satisfying feeling for most people. Like more people are like, give me a 135 back squat, like for if you're a woman, like multiple times or something like that, where I feel like I'm pushing myself. And so a lot of that is why I think the survey results are what they are. It's because it's what you prefer. And I've heard this from multiple athletes, I wish we had Hero Week every day, because these are really hard workouts and you're pushing yourself and you collapse on the floor. But you know what? When I look at your programming, there are more days than not where you are doing that, right? Like if you look at this week's programming coming up, it is not like that at all. I looked at it, I was like, wait, where's all my classic CrossFit stuff here? Like, why am I doing dumbbell bench press and this? And you know what? That is the secret to programming success. So the reason why the gym has done, and this is my God's honest truth, why it's done as well as it has been is because of the secret sauce is the programming. You're probably more knowledgeable than, I would say, 99.9% of the people out there in terms of how to set up these workouts, how to set up. And I would really love over an extended number of podcasts for you to talk about your philosophy, your thoughts, your overarching goals, your arcs, how you got High Rocks to sort of influence some of this stuff. Because let's face it, the longer workout thing, which I think you're going to talk about, that only came about when High Rocks started to take off, right? So there are so many different influences here in terms of what people want. But it's funny, people want strength, but then they also want 30 or 40 or 50-minute workouts. Like, what are you going to do? Be strong for 45 minutes? I don't think so. Like, That's not a thing. So, I think the fact that everyone has something different, and I'm sure you'll comment about all the complex movements, including snatch and all these other movements, because I know, and I can already hear people listening going, wait, we're going to program more snatch workouts in our gym. Like the, I won't, I've talked to a couple people about this and they were pretty emotional about it. So
Hi Susan.
So, I will just say, the fact that you are pissing everybody off to a little bit means, like you said, you're probably doing a good job with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good way of putting it. Pissing off everyone a little bit. And yeah, before Ash, before I get into the female perspective on things, because we will touch on some of the longer workout stuff, some stuff that, again, I am taking some of these survey results and am implementing some of it, just so you know. You brought up high rocks, Sam and Ash. We briefly talked about this earlier. I have people literally now wanting to run 3-4 days a week. Like, they think Bison should be doing that. Not happening. Okay. And those same people, I would say 3 years ago, or in that same genre of people, they said they joined CrossFit so they didn't have to run, because you get so much cardio on a daily basis. And that's really what people view running as. Like, and I know runners, you guys get very zen with it, and that's awesome. But a lot of people, grew up in a classic, go to the gym, lift weights, and then go for a run or hop on the treadmill. And that's like a strength and conditioning field. And now you go to CrossFit, you could have a strength day, DT, like you are, that is cardio partially, right? Yeah. You are breathing really heavy. And I think that's part of one of the, you called it secret sauce, is that you can blend a lot of things together if you do it responsibly. And the target is always moving with what people want. And I want to challenge everyone that has an opinion about programming. Are you actually looking at it from a fitness perspective, or are you looking at it from what you like to do perspective? Because we have two athletes that are complete antonyms to each other in the morning. They're complete opposites. And one of them wants to lift barbell only 3 days a week. That's all we should be doing. The other one wants gymnastics only workouts. And it's funny, you put them, you almost kind of want to put them in a room together and let them hash it out a little bit. And just it's like the political scene in today's world. It's like, just go into a room and yell about what you love and hate it and what you hate. And to me, CrossFit, this is what it does. It blends everything together. You shouldn't want to always do what you're good at. Adam Ramsden brought up a great point on our overtraining podcast from 2 weeks ago. He said, normally the people that are really good at a specific thing, it could be running, the running workout we did on Friday, like Owen walks in like bravado, walking through the door on running days, and he crushes it. But it's also probably, the runner, the gymnast, lifter, everyone does the same thing. I do the same thing, by the way. You show up with swagger on a day you can crush it. And I also think it's probably the most effort you put into a workout that week, because you can crush it. And you have to ask yourself, if the goal is more fitness, does that actually make you fitter, or it makes you feel good about yourself that day? Because if we all show up to the gym with that swagger of, I'm going to go after it today, on the days you don't like, the days you're not good at, I guarantee you, I would die on this, that you will get fitter if you show up with that attitude on those days. And if that truly is the goal, you have to put some serious thought into it. Your opinions on programming, it's not about you feeling good about yourself. It's about becoming a fitter person. And you really have to put some thought into, where do your opinions come from in that regard? Ashley, from a female perspective, you've seen so many things in the market change when it comes to lifting, putting muscle on. I can remember, and I still deal with this. You deal with this. Liz, I know you have conversations. People deal with this, but it's not as often as it used to be, because I think CrossFit and women in CrossFit have changed this, that lifting is bad. It's going to get me too muscular, and I'm not going to be able to fit in these clothes, and it's not going to make me feel feminine by lifting weights. Now it's like, if you're not, you're doing something wrong. That's becoming more and more common. Eating protein. You know, we've talked to someone at the gym. Everyone's like, man, I want to look like her. And like, she's like, yeah, eating protein is a part-time job. I take it very serious. Like 10 years ago, people have been like, that was not something we often heard. Do you feel there is less demand for cardio among women now?
I think it's a balance. I know we had this conversation earlier this morning. I do think that there is a big push for women as they start getting older, you know, menopause starts coming in, to focus on what they're eating, whether they're eating enough protein, whether they're eating enough in general throughout the day, but then also lifting to ensure that our bodies are strong enough to withhold what goes on later on in life. So I think it's a generational thing. I think for a lot of like the younger people, especially now with High Rocks coming in, I think people, their goals have kind of changed, right? So, you know, a bunch of us have done High Rocks. So like, yeah, I want to run more because I don't want to feel so crappy when I'm doing High Rocks again. Like, I don't want Karen dragging me through High Rocks every year. I want to be better at running. So I want to get better at running, but I do think that when you go into the programming, right, and it's hard to say because I will be honest and say that I don't always do this. Going into each workout, if you set the mindset that I'm going to go hard, every workout, like you said, DT is not a cardio-based workout. It's a lifting-based workout, but I can still get cardio endurance from doing these workouts if I do it properly. So I think that there's kind of a shift of, yes, I want to lift heavy for like longevity. I want to eat more protein. I want to eat well for longevity. But I think there's also this big sense right now on High Rocks and maybe doing marathons or a half marathon. So people do want to run, but I think that should be in addition to your CrossFit. That's not why we CrossFit. We don't CrossFit to do long runs. You know what I mean? We do CrossFit to do all of the other things that if you want to do better at running, there's programs for that for you to do. So I think it's just, it's kind of where you are in your fitness journey.
I do think in regard to running, you do what you and Karen did this morning. Like, you don't go to the gym and go work out and do wall balls, burpees, kettlebell swings, and run workout. Just go run 3 miles, you know, and like that, you're going to have to do that on your own a lot. And same thing with the people that want to lift. If you want like a 3 times per week squat cycle, you're going to have to do some of that on your own. Yep. Because again, it's the realm, it's the gym that we're programming for. It's not the person.
Right. And
I keep coming back to that thought whenever we start thinking about the gym. You're never making a decision for, there's not one person in our gym I'm making a decision for.
Exactly.
It's like we're doing it for the group and what we think is best for the group.
Or the majority, not the minority.
Now, Liz, you and Adam just did a butterfly clinic and it was a big hit. And it's really cool to watch some of these people in class make progress within the butterfly pull-up. Something that came up a lot in regard to programming was that, and this is a tough conversation, we've already touched on a little bit, but again, I want you to kind of express what you think about this. You had a lot of demand in the survey for saying, well, what about us that don't have these movements yet? We don't have toes to bar. I don't have chest bar. I can't do a strict pull-up yet. Where's my clinic? You know, why can't I get the attention? Again, it stems back to attention, but I also think it comes from a genuine desire for people to get better. And I empathize with people that they don't have muscle ups. And here we are doing clinics on muscle ups. I don't have handstand walks. I can't even get upside down yet. What's your response to that of saying like, hey, what about a basics seminar? Does that even exist? Because I have a hard time even putting that together in my head.
Yes, I think it's very important that the skills classes stay about all levels. Like, it shouldn't just be a bar muscle up seminar. It shouldn't just be ring muscle ups, handstand walks, higher skill movements. I take it back to like, when did I learn all this stuff? How did I learn all this stuff? And we were at a gym with, like Ash said, there was not many of us, and we stayed there for hours and just worked on things. And you look at it now and how it's progressed, and yeah, you have 30 people in class. Where in the world am I doing handstand walks? And like, I remember going in with Owen and there was no class. It would be 3 hours. And I don't think it was the smartest way of learning how to walk on your hands, but we tried it. We fell over and over and over, but you can't do that now. So we're
Yeah.
like trying to figure out how to get those people there, how to get you a toes to bar, how to get you a pull up. And when I circle back, it's practice. It's time with coaches, and yes, friends can help you as well, but it's having that time to practice in a safe space, to learn how to progress and then how to bring that into a workout. And I think that goes true for a ring muscle up the same way it goes for a toes to bar or a regular pull up. So seminars aren't going to be for everybody. There's going to be things you have to do those higher skill ones, but I think it's also important to teach people how to do a pull up and body positioning. And I think the best way to do it is just a small group skills class, because we can't do that in a massive class of 30 people. Like, not everybody wants to learn how to do a pull up, because they have pull ups. They're doing butterfly. It's like a higher skill. It's like, how do you get the whole class to just work on pull ups? They're going to stand there and roll their eyes, So you have to kind of teach all different levels somehow. And I think skills class is kind of the easiest way to do that and give them time.
Yeah, agreed. It is tough to do in a class because, again, there's a lot of people, they want to maximize that 50 minutes to an hour. They don't want to spend 9 minutes letting someone new trying to figure out how to do a kip. Like that eats into their workout time, and that puts the coach in a bad spot. That's a really tough situation for a coach and for a programmer. Even is like, I do feel the gap between the most capable and the average is that margin is growing as we go into the years, because a lot of people put a lot more time into it than others. They can. It's not a knock at anyone who doesn't put the time in. There are just people that put a lot of time into training, and they're rapidly improving because they're putting the time in. And now that gap, it's really tough to coach both ends of the spectrum. So I agree that one thing you did specifically, because you made a lot of progress in your first, people see what you can do now, and they don't understand. They didn't know you 10 years ago, like what you couldn't do. Like you made a lot of strides because of the time you put in, like literally there for hours. You would never miss open gym. You would stay an hour after class. And that is generally what it takes. But I also think, Liz, one thing you did really well that you could project to other people, that you were, to this day, especially early on, I think you were one of the most coachable athletes I ever had. Like back when I was coaching 30 to 35 classes a week, I pretty much coached you every day. And you never, like if I said, Liz, you have to go do 100 strict pull-ups for a week, like you would have a spreadsheet counting how many you did an hour later, and you never missed it. You never, like, do you remember the 200 meter row races we used to do? The every 2 minutes, the rate we would do it. We did that. I want to say we did that 80 times in a year, and you always did it. You sometimes showed up to the gym just to do that with me, so I wouldn't do it alone. But that's time, that's effort, that's pain. And now if I really told Liz to sprint 200 meters on a rower, I don't think anyone in the gym would beat her. And but it takes a lot of time and effort and diligence to do it. And I want to challenge people that if that's something you want, and a coach tells you, hey, to get your first strict pull up, you got to do barbell rows, bicep curls, ring rows with a pause tempo. If you don't do it for a year, don't come back saying you're frustrated about not having pull-ups, because that's what it's going to come down to. It's not advice that's going to get you there. It's work, hard work that gets you there.
I also think, just to piggyback on that, I think that as an athlete, if you want those things and you want to get better at those things, like approaching a coach or coming to open gym and talking to the coach that's there for open gym, right? They're not just there to work out. They're there to help. And especially all the other coaches that are there, talk to them and set up time to actually take that initiative, right? Yeah. Like we've said, there's not enough time in a class to give each individual person a full rundown of what they should be doing to get better. But you have to, as an athlete, if you want that, you have to say it, right? Say your goals out loud, tell somebody about it, tell a coach, and they can help you do that.
Sam, the levels approach, that was something that got a lot of hype in the feedback. I think it came up over a handful of times. They like the levels approach. And the levels approach, for those that don't know, just real quick, a level 2 is what we would consider RX. Level 1, I don't want to say RX plus, but just a higher level of skill, more volume, more weight based on what kind of workout we're doing. And level 3 is kind of like what I say used to be Bison RX. We have leveled it up over the years. that got a lot of positive flack. And I remember I've had conversations with you about Masters RX. This is like 5 years ago. You didn't like it initially, then you kind of did, then you kind of go back and forth a little bit because, again, there is no perfect way to do the level system. But I have had thoughts of trying this for a month where every day is levels. Like every single day there's level, and some of it's volume. We've done that with running, level 1, 800 meters, level 2, 500 meters, right? We've done it with loads on barbells and dumbbells, and we've done it with gymnastics. Does that take away from CrossFit methodology programming at all? Or is it, hey, we got to blend this with reality of what our gym is facing? And that's that widening gap between the most capable, the average, and newer people.
My experience is levels is a win. And the reason why it's a win is because we've talked about this. Athletes feel like they are winning. So it's really all about winning. So when you do levels, you don't feel like it's just RX or scaled. It's like, not that literally there's nothing wrong with being RX or scaled, but obviously people's self-esteem and worth come into play. And when you can break it down a little more granularly with levels, it allows people to make better choices for the stimulus of the workout. And it can also allow people to choose based on how they're feeling that day. So I know personally, I could do level 2. Almost never am I a level 1 person. Like I'm like, okay, Mike Warren and Amy Edelman and just like, go for it, guys. And sometimes I'll do level 2, but if I don't feel like that is my day or my workout, I'll do a level 3, but I won't feel like, and it's so weird because it's a mental mind trick. It's literally like a Jedi mind trick. I still feel like, oh, I won. I did levels 3 and I did pretty good on level 3. So that's good. Like, I don't know what it is about the whole level system that makes me feel that way, but it does make me feel that way. And so it's one of those things that I know CrossFit HQ will probably never embrace, unfortunately. And there are a lot of concepts I feel like CrossFit HQ could not dilute CrossFit, but just offer more options in terms of how people look at programming. And I think the only downsides is it's more work for a programmer to set up levels. And then the other thing is you kind of, I don't know. I still think you're pushing people because if you feel like you've been a level 3 person for a long time and you want to try level 2, like the option is always there. So personally, and I think when I look at the feedback, I have never seen anyone, not a single person, say anything bad about levels.
Good. Yeah. I think it kind of just feeds into this whole like RX for scale. They've been trying to tell people this for 12 years and I have not succeeded yet, that scaled is not bad. It just means that you had to kind of change a couple things, modify. And you just interviewed Mo Boak on your Bison 15 series, and Hurd and Michelle Frusciano come to my mind that Mo brought up as well on that episode, that those two never have an ego with their RX and scaled. And I feel like they just keep getting better. But it's like just a steady incline. You rarely see that at CrossFit gyms, and they don't give an F about having SC next to their name. And that literally will ruin people's days if there's an SC next to their name. And like, I just can't find out. I can't find the way to be like, guys, you are flat out wrong for feeling that way. But that's the last thing about programming is I have an idea about what we're going to do because I want you guys to stick with me here. That dark week here. The dark week is something we've done at Bison. We've done a few episodes on it already. We kind of know what it is. There's love, hate with it, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Dark week to me is a really good representation of what real CrossFit is, what real fitness is, the pursuit of CrossFit, to the point where, like, Liz, I actually kind of feel bad for in dark week because she's the head coach, she gets all the workouts. So it's not really dark for her. And I want to be on the other side of it. So I think I'm going to have Bobby program our next dark week.
Oh,
and
my God.
Oh, no.
I know. We're all screwed, by the way. But because I want to be, again, we talk about perspective. Like, I plan everything at the gym programming. I do have biases. I try to avoid them, but I know I do. Everyone does. And I want to be on the other side of it. You know, because I tell you right now, if Ash and I move to Arizona in 2 years, we're not going to, but and we joined a CrossFit gym, it would inevitably, my opinion on the programming would come up. It's inevitable, right? Good, bad, what could you use more of? I want to be on the other side of it. When you guys, Liz, when you think about Dark Week, from the perspective of someone that kind of, you know what the deal is behind it, you're coaching it, you have done Dark Weeks where you don't know the workouts. Can you blend the feel and vibe of what the gym is like that week compared to what we don't have throughout the rest of the year in terms of self-proclaimed experts? Hey, I want this. I'm showing up to this. I'm not showing up to that. What's your perspective on Dark Week programming compared to the rest of the year?
It's special. If you do it right, it's special. I remember, I think it was Jackie Riley said to me, I never would have come to this workout. And she was surprised what she could do. It almost gives you like that open feel, a little bit of that open magic, that there's things that you show up for and you're like, oh no, I don't want to do this today. And then you do it and you get through it and you're like, wow, like I could actually do that. Or I did my first 100 double unders in a row, or, you know, I actually made myself run. Like, it's just things happen that you normally would avoid because people don't understand how good they are at certain things. Sometimes I think they don't see themselves through our lenses, and then they find out they can do something, which I think is pretty amazing.
That's what fitness is. Yeah. All right. Well, this is what we're going to do. So I made this decision on the fly. We're going to do one more topic, and we're going to skip for now and we will do an episode on this, whether these guys get to come on, whether I can get them to come back on or not. We'll talk about the facility. We'll talk about the social media remarks, which were really interesting. And facility, a gym schedule. That's something I do want people to know that we put some thought and effort into. And so the schedule, facility, and social media stuff, I'm going to save for a different episode. We're going to end with what might be the most important, probably the most wording, the most responses we got that were written out about the vibe and the culture. And I wrote, I think it was like a 16 to 17 page thing. I think everyone in here, I shared it with you guys about like Bison, what our goals are, where we're headed, just my own thoughts. And I didn't put it out there publicly. It's just helps me kind of write things down. It helps me process like feelings, emotions, thoughts, right? And I share them with people to help keep me accountable, that if I ever get away from what we're actually trying to do here, like call me out, go for it. And all three of these guys will and do. But in there, I said, one of the first things I said is Bison is a vibe. That is what the business is. And a lot of people with a business background that are like, they can quote these encyclopedias and they have a PhD here and they're very well qualified in finance. They don't understand this. Not to their detriment, not no fault of their own. But that's one thing a lot of people on the outside will never understand. This is more about vibe and culture. And what I mean by that is just people being positive and happy and selfless. And it being, Liz is big on this place being inviting and an experience. That can only be a positive experience if everyone, coaches and members, by the way, this is going to be a dual responsibility, that you maintain this culture to the best of your ability. And I want to spend the rest of our time talking about the responses that we got on this. And this can, if you don't have thick skin, this is not going to be pleasant for some of you. But we're going to dive in and we're going to have some hard conversations. So we'll start it off on the positive side, okay? The most frequent word in the entire survey came from this question. It was, how would you describe the vibe at CrossFit Bison? The word welcoming was the number one word that came up. I think I counted it, where's my number? 58 times in terms of good, really good, welcoming, okay? It could be as laid back or as intense as you want. You get what you give. You support all kinds of goals. There's such a variety in ages and abilities here. It's competitive yet compassionate. That was one of my favorite lines. It is competitive at that place. But it's the day after the Bison Bowl, but it's also very passionate. And it to me, like, that's really important, that the vast majority of our members that filled out the survey, they really did feel it was a welcoming, positive place. Because if it's not, that's the beginning of the end for a gym. If it's kind of like way too cliquey, or it's negative, or people constantly talking about each other, or being selfish with things, it's just not going to work out. And that was something that we really touched on. Liz, you're huge on vibe and culture. And you're in charge of our events. You're one of the best coaches, if not the best coach, at making people feel seen at the gym. Why is that? Why are you that way? Why do you think it's so important that Bison maintains that and even tries to improve it from where it is now?
I just think we've all been there. You just never want to feel like somebody feels unwelcome walking in. If I felt unwelcome walking in somewhere, I would never want to stay there. So I feel like it's the beginning, of their journey there. And I feel like it's just how people should treat other people. It's been engraved in me since day one. I just feel like when I see someone, I want to say hi. I don't know, just how it is.
Yeah, no, I know. I think that's a big part, how you're brought up and how you live your life. And again, that's what we look for in personality traits of coaches. Not how good are you at CrossFit, not how good are you at giving coaching cues or coming up with sophisticated warm-ups. It's who you are. And that's a big part of it. I mean, and Ash, you've been there from the beginning as well. And this whole term of you get what you give, and that's a football coach said that to me last year. And it's like been in my head ever since. Like, the energy you give is the energy you will get back. And it's amazing that the people that think that, man, this is a bad place, I wonder if they've created problems themselves. Or the people that feel welcomed, they love it, it's positive, I wonder if they put that into the gym, and that's what comes back to them. As an owner, as a coach, as an athlete that's been there from the beginning, where do you think that should rank in our level of responsibility as owners, but just parts of the community?
I think it should be pretty high, to be honest with you. Again, I've said this before, our members are what keep our business, right? If we don't have members, we don't have CrossFit Bison. So how do we keep our members? And like Liz said, if someone comes into the gym and they get this like weird vibe, no one says hello to them, no one really engages with them, and they feel kind of isolated, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, I came in, I did my workout, I went home, and no one said a word to me. Like, well, why would anybody want to be there? I think making sure that it's not just on, ownership and on our coaches to be welcoming, but also on our members. Like, again, what Liz said, like, we've all been there. We've all been the new person at the gym, and coming in, and how nice is it for the coach to say, hey, Sam, like, welcome to Bison. Like, here's everyone. Introduce you to the class. Some people don't like the spotlight. But how nice is it for them to know who you are when they come in, for someone to engage with you, and chat with you. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you come from? That type of thing is huge. And that's what builds community. And that's a huge part of how I think that we've had such great longevity over the last 10 plus years, is that we've built not just a gym that is great and that we've got great athletes at, but we've also built a great community. And that starts with, how do you feel when you first walk into the gym? We all have bad days, but when you walk in, like, do you feel at home? Do you feel like you're part of this team and part of this community?
And last one on the positive side, Sam, the energy in the building is always high. I love, again, the competitive yet compassionate. Gyms in general are very egotistical normally, and that can be any gym. A lot of people go there to feed their ego. They go there to show off. They go there to compete and compare and kind of fill that void of their life. And we don't look down on people that compete. We don't feel, that we want people to feel like they're winning in any regard in life when they walk out of that building. But how, from now an owner perspective, but you've coached here for a long time, and prior to then you were one of our, I would used to call you the mayor, like the main members. How Is that really our responsibility? Like, should we be facilitating culture and vibe at a place like this that is so many moving parts, changing lives, and a lot of egos? Is that a task that we should be taking on and stressing about? Because I've had people say, like, dude, would never want to do what you do for a living. It makes me feel great when people say that. But it's like, because that's a big part of the job. But do we put too much into it? Should we be doing that?
Well, I mean, yes and no. So I do feel that fitness is an integral part of anyone's health. Okay. If you are not working out and if you're not trying to be fit, you have lost one of the biggest parts of your life. And I believe that as an athlete, as a physician, as someone who has studied health, and I also believe that CrossFit is the best way to do that. Okay. Let me just say that. So if we're a CrossFit gym and we're trying to get people to become healthier, you need to welcome them, because the group environment, the community is what drives people. If you didn't, everyone would be in their garage doing sit-ups and push-ups and all that. And all the dusty exercise bikes that are sitting in people's basements would actually be getting used, but they're not, because you need a group welcoming environment. And the fact that we do, and I'm going to say this because I have dropped into many gyms, and I've literally gone to gyms where people shunned me. So I was the new person. They had a partner workout. Nobody, I was like the last person chosen. And you know what, I don't know, maybe you guys were great athletes growing up, but I've been there as a kid, and I was like, oh my God, this is like what I felt like when we were playing kickball in 3rd grade and nobody chose me. Like, that's how I felt. And so if I am that person that reaches out to that person who's sitting in the corner, and it's not friendly and feels left out, it's like, because I've been that person. And so maybe that's why I always maybe that's why I was called the mayor, because I like, reaching out to people and seeing, how are you? Like, they don't have to be the friendliest person. You oftentimes when you come into a gym, you are not. And I remember, what struck me? I remember you saying you went to your first comp and nobody talked to you, and you sat there in a corner eating your power bar or whatever, all by yourself, about to do your workout. And like, yeah, my heart goes out to people like that. Like, how can you want to become better at fitness and not have anyone help you? Now, on the other hand, I don't want to be the culty person that like runs up and like hands you a big glass of Kool-Aid and is like, oh, this is the, there is a measured amount of it. Like, we want to meet people where they are. Right. So I think we do a good job with that. I think when when you guys do the on-ramps, Hawk, Liz, all you guys, like, we do a really good job trying to meet people where they are. People are scared when they first come in. Like, they don't know what their capabilities are, what the gym's about, what CrossFit's about. I think the fact that overwhelmingly people who responded to the survey said welcoming means we're generally doing a really good job trying to meet people in that regard. And I also feel like members are also doing a really good job with that, especially since we have so many new people. Now, could all of us be doing a better job? Coaches, athletes, anyone who is part of the gym, could we do a better job? Yes. And there are things that we could talk about in the vibe culture thing, especially probably one of the biggest vocal minorities are the longtime gym goers. And I want to address the people who have been here 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, 14 years, and some of the feedback we got from them, because I think that's really important. Yeah. But there's no doubt that if you're a new person and you walk into Bison, I generally think I feel confident that you could get a really good experience.
Yeah, I don't think it's even debatable that someone new coming gets the treatment they should get. And I think it's exactly what Sam and you and Liz said. We've been there, and it sucks to be a new person in a gym or a drop-in. I remember vividly, we've done partner Saturdays forever where we made partners. And that's been going on from the beginning. And it was because I remember at CrossFit Hoboken, they used to say, find a partner. And there was always like 7 or 8 people just awkwardly standing around. Like, felt so bad for them. I'm like, this is not what you want to do when you come to a gym. Like that's the last thing someone wants to do is like, can you work out with me? So we do it and we take control of it. Let's see, where should we start first? On stuff that can be questioned and stuff that we need to question ourselves, but we're also going to challenge some of you guys and question you. I want to start off with this thing. We have a couple people, I think it was like 4 times. Again, we have a pretty good feel. We, just to put this out there, we gave the option to people to put their names on the surveys. And we thought and discussed that for a little bit. It helps us so much when someone puts their name on their comments, because it does help bring in perspective and context. But I also understand there's a level of awkwardness people feel, especially if they're on the negative side, that they just don't want any repercussions. That, you know, I get it. You don't want to put your name next to what you say because of potential repercussions. There would never be, but I get why. But I have a feeling these comments came from people that have been around for over, I'd say, 5 to 10 years. And it said, losing personal feel. You guys used to feel like a young, successful startup business. Now it feels corporate. And couldn't disagree more, but I understand that's how it, you know, to echo what I said earlier, it doesn't matter what I think about what you think, right? It's like, that's what someone feels. They used to feel it's a nice, fun, inviting startup. Now it's a corporate gym. And it's kind of like the OGs versus the new people. I would like to challenge anyone that feels that way to understand the business side of this, that it's not anyone's job to view Bison as a business other than people that work here. So that's first and foremost. If we did not view it as a business, none of us would be sitting here right now. I don't know where we'd be. If it was just a community for fun, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. And a lot of decisions need to be based on things that are out of the scope of a member. Money is one of them, space, lease, schedule, the changing lives of our coaches, that we try to modify things for over and over so that they are happy and they feel appreciated, right? And I do think some of this can come from, I dare to even bring up new ownership anymore. You know, to me, it's not a sensitive subject, but to some of you listening, it is. But one thing I would say our newer owners, I should say, do that has never been done before. I don't even know if this is completely appropriate, but I do think it needs to be known, because the word corporate to me just doesn't sit well with these guys. They haven't taken $1 yet, and they put a lot of money into investing in this gym. Every dollar that has come their way, every single dollar has gone back into the gym or into the pockets of our staff. And I don't know how many of you would have done that. If you were signing checks, I'm not going to get into how much that is, but it was not a cheap purchase. And I don't know how many of you would do that, write a big check like that in 2 years, just not take anything back. And who knows if you're going to get anything back. You know, I told them to their faces, my goal is to get them every single penny back and more. But it comes after everyone else. It comes after everything else. And that's something to me that bothers me personally about the startup versus corporate comment, is that corporate is, we're getting paid. These guys are getting paid. That's corporate. Screw everyone else. I'm going to fire these people so these guys get paid. We see that all the time. Private equity comes in, buys a company. Those guys get paid. Everyone else gets screwed. CrossFit, hello, affiliate owner. We're now paying extra money because new owners came in. Big check. And a lot of gyms leave for that reason. These guys are not. In my opinion, we're more startup now than we were 5 years ago because of everything that we've added between Power Nutrition, Outlast, Next Gen, Breakthrough, yoga. Like we're trying to start things up. And then all these hours that are being put in at the gym, CrossFit Kids, like it's not the owners getting the money. It's not these guys getting the money. And to me, that's what a startup is. It's you know, Mike DeSilva was there this morning cleaning the gym. And you know, Adam Hawkinson, I think it's really important. I got his permission to share this. The new fans in the gym, there's probably $50,000 worth of fans at Bison. Most of that has come from Adam. And again, how many people would do that? I don't know, without asking for anything in return. And the only thought behind that is let's just make the place better. So I think it's really important before anyone gets into that kind of conversation about that kind of leadership stuff. These guys, when I say these guys, I'm talking like Sam and Susan and Mike and Hawk, and they did not ask me to tell this. I'm probably actually going to get some flack for this, but they're doing things that I think most people would not even think about doing. And I mean that. So I would be a little careful with bringing the conversation in that direction. Sam, you don't need to touch on it unless you want to, but do you jive with that at all? Should I be shutting up here on this podcast? Like, do you want to say something about that kind of stuff?
I love you as an owner and Ash. I love Mike. I love Hawk. I've been here for a long time, and all of us want the gym to be better. None of us went into it for any other reason. And I think we're not perfect. Okay. And I understand that. And that's why the survey is important, because if people feel that way, then that just shows we can do a better job, either communicating or just executing. And we need that. Like, as owners, we have made mistakes. We're going to continue to make mistakes. I wish Hawk hadn't spent so much money on the fans, but listen, the intent was good, and maybe it helped a little. I don't know, but yes, so please help us as owners to help Dave, because let's face it, Dave has started this with others, and now we're the ones helping him. And the only thing we want is for this thing to get as successful as possible, and that for everyone to be there to have the best health and life and fitness experience. And that's why we're trying all these different modalities, and is because we feel like, do people benefit from nutrition help? Yes. Would people help from mobility? Yes. Would people help from alternative methods of exercise, not just straight up CrossFit? Yes. These are all questions that we're trying to answer, not what is going to maximize our profit so we can take home a bigger dividend check. That has never been, and honestly, no matter how nice Dave is saying it, will ever actually come into fruition. That's not why we're doing it. And I feel like if everyone sort of works that way, even as a member, if you feel like your environment can be made better by you treating someone else in a way that you would want to be treated, or you doing the workout the way you would want others around you to work out, that's all we're asking for. And tell us what we're doing wrong. I appreciated this survey so much, because these were not things people aren't coming up to me and saying, hey, you changed the vibe, you suck, it was better 10 years ago. No one has told me that. So when I read it, I was like, what? Oh, okay, thank you. I appreciate that people feel that way, and I want to know that. So please, continue. That's the only way we're going to know.
And Ash, the anything feeling different 10 years ago, we can get away from owners, right? We can get away from the people in our gym. Inevitably, lives have changed, right? I love getting nostalgic sometimes, going back in CrossFit Bison, looking at open party pictures from 2016 and 17 and 18. No kids, staying up till 4 a.m, coaching at 7 a.m, still probably
sleeping at the gym.
Yes, probably still intoxicated. Don't tell anyone. But how much does that make a culture change, right? You can look at everyone's lives in this video alone and say the lives have changed, but then you multiply that by 100 people that are still here 8 to 10 years later. Almost nothing is the same. Who you hang out with, your kids, where you live, how much does that impact a culture, or where it currently sits when people are constantly comparing themselves to the past, their bodies to the past, but also the vibe of a gym to the past?
Well, to go off of the nostalgic feel, I was talking with Mike S., Jess Torch yesterday after Bison Bowl, and I was like, oh my gosh, we used to do keg stands and dance parties and you know, it was just a whole another lifetime, I feel like.
They could not hang with us.
Oh,
These guys
no.
right now, they
No.
couldn't even touch what we did back then,
Yeah,
just so you know. But
I agree. And I think, you know, like you can look at our lives, you know, just our lives specifically. You know, we started this and we would hang out at the gym. Like I would get out of work and we'd hang out at the gym till 9:30. Liz and I would do muscle ups and literally have each other on our shoulders, like trying to teach ourselves how to do muscle ups. Because we had all the time in the world. We didn't have other obligations. We didn't have, you know, kids and dogs and lives and, you know, stuff like that. And so I think like from that perspective, like the gym itself, if you look at everybody in 10 years, like has drastically changed. We've gotten older. Our priorities have changed. You know, like I don't want to be at the gym till 4 a.m. Like that's way, way past my bedtime. You know, like you know, we have Brock now. Like we've got sports and activities and he's got bedtime and things like that, you know, have changed. You know, again, having a baby, like my body's definitely different. The way in which I look at workouts, the way in which I, you know, look at those things has changed in 10 years. I think I remember you and I feel like some people were talking about this. Like if you look at anything in your life, when have you consistently loved something for 10 years straight and still done it? Not a lot of people can be like, oh yeah, I've done this for 10 years. Because you have changed, right? Like you yourself has changed as a human. So the fact that those people have been here for 10 years, like I applaud them. Like, hey, like CrossFit's not easy and that you've been here for 10 years is amazing. But that group feel that we had way, way back, like we were also like starting up like you left your job. I remember when we first started dating, you were like, I don't have a job. I was like, oh God, how am I going to bring this person home to my family? He doesn't have a job. But like we started this and put our blood, sweat, and tears into it. And now it's like a well-oiled machine, right? We've got Liz who's heading up our staff. We've got owners who want to be here, want to be involved, and like want to give back to everybody. And so everybody's changed. The business has changed. People have changed in 10 years. It's inevitable. So to say that like the culture has, you know, used to be better or it's changed is kind of like, well, you know, look inside a little bit and are you the same person that you were 10 years ago?
Yeah. Liz, I think we're the only gym in the CrossFit world. I've never heard of a gym that does this, that we put people in zones. And like we have zones in our gym. We had to do it because of COVID. We kept it because people asked us to keep it. And this feeds into a common word that came up. That's probably going to come up it comes up in church, comes up in school, comes up in any social environment, and it's cliquey. You know, the gym feels cliquey at times, which I think I'm not a huge, I get the meaning of words wrong sometimes. I pronounce words wrong sometimes as well. But cliquey to me is like, it's like friend groups within a group and you feel like they're not inviting to others. So some of the comments I got, I want you to touch on this and you could kind of tie in the zones or take it however you want to and spin it. There's a lot of long-standing relationships and friend groups and they're not welcoming or approachable. It's very tough to be someone new without a social plug-in. Depends on the class in terms of how cliquey things get. Hey, it's inevitable, but your gym is cliquey. The Saturday partners have gotten out of hand. It's crazy. The amount of conversations we've had about partners on Saturdays. But again, someone feels that way. I have people that don't come on Saturdays for this reason. They don't want to be feeling like what Sam was feeling, like, hey, I'm just here to work out, but I'm not a friend of these 9 people. And I'm going to be stuck in the corner with someone I don't even know. And they're all working out with each other for the 9th straight week. I want you to touch on whatever you're willing to share, the conversations that we've had and the conversations you've had with coaches about there is a rationale behind zones. And I also think some of the members, to be blunt, need to listen to this.
So I'm going to say that they're not wrong in some of this. And we've had conversations about this. We've noticed it. We are owning some of this, and our coaches will be changing some of this. You're not coming to the gym with your friends to hang out. That's not why we run classes, and it's not like a class group hangout. You're there to learn, you're there to work out, and we're lucky to have community around us for accountability. And yes, there are new people, there are people that have been there for 5 years, there are people that have been there from the beginning. And we do have to keep it more structured now, because you have 30 people in a class and you say go find a pull-up bar, and there's 2 people that just get pushed out because everyone runs their favorite pull-up bar, they want to be with their friends. So that's not going to happen. So we use the whiteboard to make sure everyone has a place here, and make sure that there's mingling going on. And does that mean that I'm not going to be next to my best friend? Probably, right? There might be 2 people in between us, and that's okay, right? That's where conversation happens. That's where friendships begin. I will say this, Brian, my husband, has met his best friends in this gym. He had a group of friends growing up. He still talks to them, but he has something here that's so special. And it didn't come from him coming to the gym with one person and working out with that one person every single day and always being with that person, same zone. It came from meeting other people along the way. It came from events, going out with friends. That's how he met them. They were in his wedding, and we want that for everybody. We want people to find their way here. We want to help them find their way here, help them find people. And that ties into Saturdays as well. I know I made a joke of this at our staff. I was asking them to send the whiteboard to a group chat, and then it ended up being me texting it to myself. But the reason being was to try to rotate the pairings a little bit. And it's not always going to be, let's say, very elite athletes together all the time. And it's never going to be the 2 beginners together all the time. I think success comes when you mix it sometimes, and you meet different people. And some of my best workouts have been with people that I haven't had super long conversations with. So I think that's the beauty of Saturdays. And we do need to get back to that. I think we ventured off a little bit, and sometimes it's just easy when it's these 2 perfect, same height, they work out together, they do the same weights. And then there's the logistics. You can't always have, a guy and a girl in each zone with 2 barbells.
Yep.
And then we have 2 dumbbells, and then now they got to go upside down. We need 2 rig height. There is some organization that needs to be there, but I think we could put a little extra attention into mingling people a little bit, and making it more of a safe space for everybody, because everyone is friendly. It's just sometimes you get caught up talking to the person that the best.
Yep. Yeah. And again, this just goes to the members. You guys have to look at it from just like programming. You can't just look at it from your perspective. I want to work out with this person. We don't care. We also know who you want to be with. And there are times you do get to work out with them. But what a member usually does not see is that the other 90%. That 10%, you guys want to be locked in with each other. You were locked in with each other last week and 2 days ago at Open Gym and 4 weeks ago as well. But every other time you work out, there's the other 90% that there's someone new in the gym that none of you guys talk to. And that's it's always hard for me. It's a cringy thing to me sometimes, where you have a new person 10 feet away from a group of 4 people talking, and none of them even acknowledge that person. And while it's not their job as a paying member to go into have a conversation with someone, they are paying to come here. They can do what they want in some regard. If I'm huge on just give more than you take, because if everyone takes more than they give, at some point there's nothing left to take. And if you can always just be going in there, we get asked all the time, what can I do to help? Honestly, that's it. You don't need to donate time on a weekend. Just go talk to someone new. Make sure someone is not being kind of pushed to the side. Don't text me Friday night at 9:44 p.m. asking for a partner on a Saturday, because I get it. We do know who you want to, but it does throw off a big part of what we're doing with this culture, which is a big part of our gym. The competitive side to the gym, this came up multiple times. There are people, that think us logging scores on a whiteboard and in the app is actually detrimental to our gym. And the reason is twofold. One of them, people cheat. They will literally cheat so that they look better on a non-leaderboard. It's not a leaderboard, everyone. It's a scoreboard. All right. Leaderboards rank you, and that only exists with competitions. But the scoreboard, if people are going to lie about their score so that others feel that they are a fitter version of themselves, what it also does, it creates gossip. It goes, oh, that person cheats. That person only did X amount of reps. That person didn't squat. That person's a liar. Just a lot of negative vibes in conversations with people at the gym. And I'll raise my hand. I've been a part of those conversations. Absolutely. I don't know if I'm allowed to or not with the position I'm in at the gym, but I have been a part of those conversations. And even worse, the hearsay from other conversations comes to me. Oh, these 3 people at the bar were, bashing this person because she cheated in this work and blah, blah, blah. You wonder, someone says, she goes, I wonder if you would have less of this like weird hostile stuff between people that don't know how to channel being competitive, if it would just be a more positive environment if there were no scores ever on the whiteboard at the gym, but also in the app. You can make it private. I can make that private where only you see it. I do have that ability to do that. Ash, touch on that. You've wavered with how competitive you get. I do think you've always had a level head with being competitive. Like it truly is, just do your best. And if you win, great. If you lose, not really going to think too much about it. But we've all had weak moments. There's not a person in this podcast that has not had a weak moment in regards to this. It's part of growing up in CrossFit. Touch on the fact that we record scores and how it could, in a competitive environment, how it could actually be a detriment, and should we modify the way we do things?
I do see the side of, putting scores up there, because I do think, there are people, whether they do it on purpose or they don't, and they just get wad brain and forget, do kind of change the scoring, right? However, I do think that for the most part, people, either are aware of those people or, don't care. I think from a negative standpoint, right, I understand having the app and how it does put, like whoever had the highest score at the top, and that can kind of be, a little disheartening for some people sometimes. I mean, trust me, there's times that I'm scrolling down to find myself. But I think it's, at the end of the day, you have to have the mindset that everybody's journey is a little bit different. So that might not have been a great workout for me. Like, trust me, Friday's workout with the running, we were in 2 different heats. I was getting lapped by the second heat and I was in the first heat. Like, you just have workouts that are yours and workouts that are not. But you have to be humble enough to kind of to recognize that. But I don't think, from a business perspective, I don't think that we will get rid of having the whiteboard or, the app, just because I feel like the good outweighs the bad. I think it's great when you see somebody's name who's who's on there, whether it's at the top or at the bottom and in the middle, that you're just like, oh my gosh, like you did awesome today. And like, you get to like it or comment on it, and I feel like it does help, the nighttime crew. I can look at somebody, I can look at Nicole Aquino and be like, what weight did she use today? What were her comments on it? So I think the good outweighs the bad with that. And I think people just have to kind of stay in your own lane and just be like, yeah, if it's a push-up workout, I know I'm not looking at X, Y, and Z scores because they don't touch their chest to the ground, or this person doesn't have range of motion on their squats, so I'm not going to look at their scores. You kind of have to have like the know-with-all to kind of just chalk it up and be like, okay, that's their journey. That's not mine. Yeah.
I mean, the older I get, Sam, the older I get, and I'm still competitive. I still have competitive goals, but the more experience I get, the less I care about people cheating, other than it's just like, it's stupid to do. Like, you literally are the biggest loser if you're cheating. And I'm not calling you a loser. I'm saying you will lose out on what you're trying to accomplish, right? Like, if you literally do less reps so that you can win on the whiteboard, you're literally getting further away from this competitive goal that you have. It's like, it's so stupid. But I've gotten to the point where people get really stressed about this. And like, in my head, I'm like nodding my head. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't care, because I'm like I have filters for people. Like when I see their scores, it's just like, it's a random blade of grass to me. Like it just doesn't matter to me that their score's elite and I know they didn't get there. They have internal problems that I'm not qualified to fix. And that kind of is what it is. Do you think that a coach's job, because you've had really strong thoughts about these awful push-ups that people do, and this came up in the survey that people are terrible at push-ups. Literally, people are like, why are these people doing them this way? Like, what's the point? As a coach, you got to care in class that people are moving correctly.
Correct.
But this whole concept of scores and people that used to be good, but they don't have it anymore, or they lost a little bit off that fastball, you know, where do you go with that? Because I know a lot of people have that conversation with you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a detriment to what we're actually trying to do in terms of helping them?
It can be, yes. So I've come to think of the whiteboard and scores as a mirror. And I've had my journey. Everyone has their journey with the mirror. So I have been at different parts of my life in different perspectives of what that mirror shows me. So I used the whiteboard as a mirror for my self-esteem. And when I was really good, it really bolstered my self-esteem. And I said, look, I could really do well here and I could compare myself to these people and I'm right there. And then on other days, I got more mature and I said, you know what, this is not a reflection of who I am and what I do. And so I don't have to look at that mirror, but I've gone up and down on it, like more recent, you know, so everyone has to go through that journey with this. It is nothing but a bunch of numbers.
Yeah.
And so how you interpret it is what is important. So some people will look at it as extremely important to them and others will not. Some people have come to the gym and never cared ever what that showed them. And others have left the gym because they couldn't handle what that showed them. And so it is literally a mirror into your own self. And if right now I'm using it as trying to motivate myself. So I did that push press squat clean cluster thing. And I had missed a couple and I got to the gym and there was someone who was sort of like me. And, you know, I kind of look at their numbers and their push press numbers were like, you know, 40 pounds more than mine. And their cluster was like more than mine. And I was like, whoa, that really showed me, like, I thought I was pretty good, but just missing a couple sessions of that really hurt me. And I wasn't jealous or mad, or it was more a reflection of where am I sitting with this? And I probably will need to try to make that up. The other thing I also see is when other people game the system, for example, when you're doing, you know, a high like rep max squat or something, I will always burn this into my brain. I saw someone go 95, 95, you know, 135, 255 or something like that. Okay. And they wrote 255. Yeah. And I saw Adam Storms like hit like, I don't know, 165 from the get-go all the way through. And his number was at 165. Now, who got a better workout? Who was more fit? Like, you know, like I saw that and I saw Adams did not care. Storms did not care what that number was. He went heavy from the get-go and he finished at the same weight. The other guy sandbagged it, which I have done too, where he went super light and then at the very end threw up an insanely high number because you could do it for just like a few reps. And so again, it's a mirror. So how do you use that mirror? That mirror should always be there, because if you don't have that mirror to look at, then how do you know what you're doing? But you have to look at yourself. It's not. And if someone cheats and uses that mirror, tells you a little bit about them too. So I don't want to talk about how someone else is using that mirror. It's just for myself.
Yeah, that was great. That's a great analogy, Sam. Thanks for that. Yeah, train harder, compete less. If everyone actually did that, guarantee you will be better a year from now. Train harder than you do now, but compete less than you do now. You will get better. At some point, you should be tested. We view the Open as that. Some of you guys sign up for different competitions and qualifiers, but every day at the gym, in my opinion, unless it's like fun banter, it's not a competition. Like Mike Warren, he's a cute little puppy. He's like a feed every now and then. He's like got a little trash talk. He makes it to the 3rd minute of the workout. He crashes and burns. For the but like, no, but he's doing fantastic right now. And he'll let me know every time he beats me, and other people as well. And that's, to me, that's fun. I don't know if everyone is good at having that fun filter, but in your internal thoughts, what Sam was just talking about, all that internal dialogue, like if you compete every single time, you're constantly comparing, you're robbing yourself so much of joy, ambition, discipline, and your long-term goals. So again, really try to take that home, that you should be training harder, but competing less often. And I really think you will win out in the end with that. I have one last thing in regard to the vibe and the culture, and then we're done. Okay. And Liz, I'm going to start off with you. You are our event planner. And I question whether or not I should even bring this up, but this was a big part of the survey, and hard conversations are positive. Okay. Connecting people outside the gym. Okay. It's a dangerous game, but it's something that we have done forever. We continue to do, and I'm pretty sure we're always going to do. It's been brought up, and I don't have any factual objective proof of this, and I kind of disagree with it, but it's, hey, we used to get people together more often in the past than we do now. There used to be more events. There used to be more social interactions. There used to be more kind of like what happens after the Open or after the Bison Bowl. People go out and just hang out with each other all the time. That, to a lot of people in the survey, seems like it's not what it used to be. It's losing a personal feel. There's not as many friendships, truly genuine friendships outside the gym. As someone that is in charge of our events, and you do an awesome job, 10 out of 10, with every event you plan, and you put a lot of time into it. And there's a lot of finances behind it as well, from ownership perspective. What do you think about that when someone says, yeah, you guys, like it's our job, you guys don't get us together as often as you used to?
That's a loaded question. Financially, I think a lot of people don't know that ownership is very heavily involved in funding some of the things that we do. Like when we did the horse race party, right? We didn't ask members for anything, and that was fully funded on them, the holiday party, etc. So there is a limit to how much that can happen. We could do things every week if we wanted to, right? But how expensive would that get, right? So That is one thing. We did, I think, limit that to like 3 big ones a year. And I think that's good. And then there could be more, I would say, just like locally, whatever you do, like you could put that on the board and be like, hey, we're all going to, I don't know, W's today, right? But it's also like, what else is there that you can do besides hang out at a bar all the time? You know, like there has to be some other things that could go on. And I do think that we could talk about doing more events, but I also think it's on other people too, to like, hey, maybe I like Katie K. She's amazing. I want to open up my house to the ladies, and every lady is invited, right? She takes that on herself to host that. I'm not saying everyone needs to invite the whole gym over, but she does, offer that. And I think that that's part of it as well, is like, if you have a place that you can do that and you want to bring it up to me or bring it to my attention, I will absolutely help you plan something like that going forward. But
yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I do think that's a lot of people. I think what a lot of newer people at Bison don't realize, when I say new, I'd say within the last 3 to 4 years, they don't realize that a lot of things that got people together in the past were simply people putting together themselves. They weren't like gym events. It was definitely, now there's another angle to this as well. I'm not afraid of saying this, so I don't put you guys in a bad spot, but I do think factually, in any community that's been together this long, there are going to be some relationships that strengthen, and there's going to be some that weaken naturally. That would happen in any area in life. It doesn't mean some people hate each other, although that is the case. Some people love each other. That is the case. There are just certain pockets of time that people don't have anymore. Example, yesterday after Bison Bowl, we hung out. I was exhausted. I didn't even work out. I was exhausted. People were like, oh, like 11 Central or going here, like come out here. And I was like, I haven't seen my son since yesterday morning. I'm not going to go home and then leave. And I'm at that point, and a lot of people I know in our frame of mind or our time of life, they would rather be home and with their kids than out. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think anyone should be offended by that. But when you have a large group of our gym that's kind of in that section of, hey, we're just not as available as we used to be to just randomly go out, that's a big part of what getting together is. And the harder conversation on this is I do think over time, things get said, things happen where people don't want to hang out with people that they used to hang out with. I think that's part of it. And that's a hard pill to swallow. But again, this comes back to the energy you give is the energy you get. And the limited time that a lot of people have available now, they might not want to spend it with each other in addition to working out at the gym with them. They might want to be with others. So that's something I want everyone to kind of look inward on, is that we're not, in my opinion, we're not a drama-full gym. We don't have a lot of drama in our gym like a lot of other social groups, social clubs do, but there is some. And it puts some people in a really uncomfortable, really bad position because you have to kind of force to make a decision to show up somewhere or not, to invite someone out or not. And that can immediately turn into a cliquey type environment where in reality, there's usually a thought and reason why some of these things have happened. Ash, we've had conversations about this. Any additional thoughts to that?
No, I think as Liz said, if people have stuff or like, hey, like a group of us were chatting about going to do this, like reach out to Liz and be like, hey, can we throw this up on, CrossFit Bison, or, can we make it into like an event? Like there needs to be no cost behind it, but like, can we do something like that? Like we'd be more than happy to like post about it. And, and I do think that, friendships form at the gym. Some of our best friends are from the gym. And I think that's natural to have. You can, we suffer together. We, like to hang out together. But like you said, like things just change. And I feel like, I hate to keep saying like we're old, but like, the older you get, like it's quality over quantity sometimes, like I'd rather Liz throw 3 quality events that everyone can go to that really, brings us together as a community than 12 small events where, you either get the same people to come to, or it's just not as impactful, again, quality over quantity. And I think that way with people's friendships too, like a lot of people like just want to have like their small circle of friends and don't want to hang out with 200 other people.
Yeah. And Sam, I mean, the alcohol industry right now, if you do any reading and research on what's happening there, it's getting crushed. Like they're and a lot of people are now more health centric. And Liz said, it's like, well, we can't just go sit at a bar all the time. Like occasionally you do that, right? We've all had our weekends there. We still do. But someone asked me like, well, why don't we just like get together for a game, or we all go to the beach one day? And it's funny how just me personally, if you said right now in the next 6 weeks, hey, Dave, let's find a Saturday or Sunday that we get the whole gym to go to the gym. Like, I don't have any Saturdays or Sundays open until the end of August. And even that, hey, I got to be home by 8 o'clock for this. Like there's things that it's just not realistic to do unless the people do it themselves to initiate. And Sam, in an environment where drinking is not as commonly done, what is there anything that comes to mind that says like, hey, young kids like to do this? You do it. You have a couple of kids in college now that maybe the gym, maybe just people listening, not for the gym to plan for you guys, but maybe there's some things that they like to do that maybe some other people in the gym can kind of put together themselves and see if some others want to join.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is spontaneity. Like, people are already talking about a corporate vibe. Like for us to like make it more corporate-y would be like, I think people like when we did these things, first of all, I mean, some of it was just absolutely stupid. I just remember some of the stupid things I did, which was just not like really bad, like not good. Like I was not in a good state. Like I drank too much or, was stupid. And so I look back at like, you were like, yeah, we were awesome. Like, dude, you don't want to go back and do that. Like you really you don't like you don't want to hang with the young people at this point. That being said, yes, do my kids go out and hang and have fun and do crazy stuff? They do. You're right. It is a little different. Like, I would say, I don't really. This is a good question, and I don't know if we have a really good answer. Like, I will tell you this. Like over the winter, I was like, you know what? There are a bunch of guys. Like the girls have their thing, so I was thinking, we should get a couple of the guys who usually just work out in the morning and don't really hang much, and let's try to get them together. And so I was starting to reach out to some of these guys, and most of them are kind of corporate-y, so they're really busy. And most of them are like, okay. And then I just gave up because I just didn't, I don't want to go out anymore.
Right.
And most of these guys are real busy. And so as much as we would like to try to do some of these things and we have good intentions, like I am amazed at what Liz does because it's really hard. And like, shout out to Katie and everyone else who do them. Like you said, we throw out a lot of these ideas. We realize that there could be a need for more social interaction. We recognize that the survey does say stuff like that. We have thought about it. We are trying. It's really hard for a lot of reasons, not just because we're old, but just because of a lot of reasons. Like, I don't want to say that just because we're old, like, or we have kids or we have sports, like it's just a bunch of things. So, but if people have ideas and thoughts, we would love to do them. Like I have literally like thought about it myself and said, I do need to do more. I can do more. And so if people have thoughts, like Ash said, like talk to Liz, talk to us, like we would love to do more outside of just whatever people think their cliques are doing. Like we want people to, I don't want to call them cliques. I want people to have friends and do their things. And I see people do that all the time. And I celebrate that. I think that's awesome because as Liz said, so many of them became friends at the gym. And if you want more of that yourself, then like we're here to help you with that. We do want that. So maybe we don't have the best ideas. Maybe you have a better idea. Like come to us or talk to any one of us and we will really try to make that happen.
Yeah, I can't imagine any of us being like, no, we're not. I'm not going to help you try to get people together for X, Y, Z.
As long as it's not like doing shots or like stuff like that. Like I'll be there.
Yeah, like be aggressive. Like I know there's people. Here's a good example. There's people that show up every Thursday night during the Open to support people that are doing the heat. Like that stuff. Like that shows something. And like, is it an extravagant event? No. Is it cost money? No. Is it a great time? Yeah. And you talk to some new people there. Like. That stuff, that means something, that kind of stuff. And there's a carryover to it. It kind of spills over into your relationships outside the gym. All right. So I think I just saw the note. Oh, cool. We have a chat room. I didn't even know that. Cool. All right.
I was like, how do I tell them?
So that is going to wrap it up. I know some of you did share, and I will do another episode, whether it's with these guys again or just Sam. Like we'll talk about what we can do schedule wise. But some of the things that we will touch on, our gym schedule, what we want to add to our schedule or what we might down the road and our kind of thoughts on that. The facility, which includes the parking, the showers that we don't have, air conditioning, hot topic right now, if you only knew. The pull-up bars that are slippery because you guys keep wiping them down with the stupid frog grips. Daily bathroom cleaning, barbell, the equipment that you want. Our social media, which I am going to implement some of this stuff, the cameras at the gym. Do we take advantage of it? Synergy between Outlast and Bison. All of that will come in the next episode of the Bison Survey. We don't have time to touch on all of that now, but I do want you guys to know we will touch on that in one way or another via the podcast. And I want to give all those topics the respect that they deserve. There's also a few things we are taking from the survey, and I need to run by Liz, especially, and Bobby, which we're meeting this week. I'm just going to talk about a couple little things but I don't want them to find out via a podcast. I want to have a conversation. So just know that there are things that we have talked about. We will talk about. Nothing got pushed to the side. We didn't take anything from the survey and say, you don't know what you're talking about, right? Just be patient with some of the stuff that you really want at the gym. If it makes sense for the entire gym, it'll probably happen. But we need to continue to hear it. So don't ever hesitate to share your opinions on what we could do better for this place, for the community, and even for you. So Liz, thank you. Ashley, thank you. And Sam, thank you. This is by far a Herd Fit podcast PR, 2 hours and 14 minutes. I will give a free fit aid to anyone that listened to this start to finish without stopping. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.